Picture the man of your dreams. He's hot, like so hot that when your friends ask to see a picture of him, you don't have to explain why you're attracted to him. He has a good sense of humor, like actual humor, not podcast bro humor. He's charming, like charming enough to sell snake oil to a snake, but he's actually a good guy with morals and values, so he would never do that. And speaking of morals and values, you are perfectly politically aligned, whatever that means to you. He dresses well, but he's not too preoccupied with fashion. He sends good morning texts that don't make you cringe. Your chemistry is undeniable, and he makes it clear that you mean the world to him. He's almost the full package, but there's just one small thing. He's broke. Is he still the man of your dreams? Hey guys, it's Amanda. Welcome back to my channel. Today I want to discuss Celine Song's sophomore film, The Materialists, and why so many people have deemed it broke man propaganda.
Alright, so if Celine Song is mad at people calling Materialist broke boy propaganda, why did she make a broke boy propaganda movie?
Oh my god, bro.
Oh, hell no, man. What the fuck, man? Get your ass on.
You're not getting it. It's not clocking to you that I'm standing on business, is it?
The Materialists is a class commentary disguised as a rom-com. Actually, I don't even really think it's a rom-com. They just marketed it that way because some of the most attractive actors on earth kiss in it. It's a romantic movie, it's a drama, and there's some really smart dialogue that made me smile, but it's certainly not a comedy. I think they just didn't know how else to sell it. If anything, I would call it a dark rom-com, or a rom-com that got a poetry MFA. It's extremely self-aware, not in a meta way, but it knows that the people it portrays are often despicable, and it's not shy about it. The Materialist stars Dakota Johnson, Chris Evans, and Pedro Pascal. It's Celine Song's follow-up to her Oscar-nominated debut film, Past Lives. In the slow-burning Past Lives, Song explores the evergreen themes of fate and love, while in The Materialist, she tackles issues so topical you've probably seen them on your For You page: money, modern dating, and marriage. And as someone whose attention span has been eroded by scrolling, I have to say, it was really nice to see these themes addressed outside of a 9:16 aspect ratio. Rom-coms tend to exist in a magical realm where no one really has to think about money, and perhaps that magical realm was just the 90s, a time period where you could afford to live in Manhattan while maintaining a profession such as writer or secretary. Can you imagine? There's always been portrayals of rich people and poor people and everything in between, but we never get into specifics. In The Materialist, the specifics are presented and they really matter.
The perception of a big happy family is all you need to have a big happy family.
That's all it takes to be soulmates?
Love is easy.
Is it? I find it to be the most difficult thing in the world.
I'm older than the women you could be dating. My looks won't last as long, and I have fewer years left to get pregnant. If you marry a 25-year-old, then in 10 years, she'll look like me. If you marry me, in 10 years, I'll look like my mother.
When I see your face, I see wrinkles, gray hair, and children that look like you. Can't help it.
Marriage has never been about love. The institution was created to establish economic alliances between families. But a combination of the Enlightenment, the Industrial Revolution, and the Romantic era influenced the #1 criteria for marriage in Western cultures to be love. It's why the notion of a dating market, which is really to say a marriage market, is unsettling at best and dehumanizing at worst, which we see on full display in The Materialists. It shows how capitalism has everything and nothing to do with how we fall in love in the 21st century. So let's get into it. Let's talk about The Materialist. Is it broke boyfriend propaganda or not? But first, a quick word from today's sponsor. I want to thank Paired for sponsoring this portion of the video. Paired is a relationship app. It's an experts-backed couples app with daily quizzes, games, challenges, and tools that help couples communicate better, build trust, and strengthen their bond. Relationships still require time and effort, and the paired app helps so much when it comes to intentionally building trust and communication with your partner, no matter which stage of the relationship. Whether you and your partner are taking very big steps, like moving in together, or if you're in the early stages and want to get to know your partner in a fun way with games and daily questions. It's also a great way to ask those more intimate questions about expectations for the future in a safe, neutral environment where you can be completely honest. I love that actual relationship therapists and experts created the content on this app so that I don't have to get into deep, dark doom scrolls asking anonymous internet users for relationship advice. With my special offer, you can get 25% off on a yearly subscription that's only $29.99. That's for both you and your partner. You only have to pay once for 2 accounts. Use my special link to make sure Paired knows I sent you, or let them know in the app. Okay, back to The Materialist. This video will contain spoilers because it's been like 3 months since it came out. So the movie follows Lucy, a very successful high-end matchmaker living in Lower Manhattan. And when I say successful, I don't mean rich, but she is the leading matchmaker at her agency, having matched 9 couples who ended up getting married. But despite her apparent beauty and dating expertise, Lucy herself is in her mid-30s and single. Gasp. At a client's wedding, Lucy meets the groom's bachelor, Harry, an eligible bachelor who takes immediate interest. Just as she's warming up to him, her ex-boyfriend, John, appears with her very eccentric drink order before she can even request it: a beer and Coke. Ew. As it turns out, John is a struggling theater actor working a cater-waiter gig at this grotesquely expensive wedding to make ends meet. If you can get past the delivery of Dakota Johnson's first line, The Materialists is an incredibly watchable movie. And I know that sounds so obvious, like movies are watchable, water is wet. But the fact is, movies are like food, and how you prepare it can impact how good it tastes and how easy it is to eat. I would compare watching an unwatchable movie to eating a pineapple without a knife. It is possible, sure, you could sink your teeth into that spiky skin, but it will be painful and unpleasant. Whereas The Materialist is prepared in such a way that the pineapple skin has been removed and the flesh has been chopped up, and they threw away all the hard inner bits and presented it in an edible arrangements like fashion. That is the sense in which The Materials is watchable. It is beautiful. The people are pretty. The cinematography and production design are gorgeous. It flows very well. The editing is effective and snappy, especially in those confessional matchmaking scenes with Lucy's clients.
I want to meet someone who's a combination of all the different awesome parts of the last 4 matches. Sophie's job and education level, Emily's body and lifestyle, Piper's face and sense of style, and Jane's hobbies and taste in TV shows.
Easy.
And speaking of Lucy's clients, that's exactly who I am referring to when I said that the movie displays despicable people and it's not shy about it. The callousness with which these clients lay out their standards for potential dates is infuriating.
I don't care what she's like or how she lives. I just care that she's my type physically, fit. Nothing over 20 BMI.
But at the same time, I appreciate that it is honest. Nobody would say these standards so explicitly if it weren't for the confidentiality of a matchmaker. At least I don't think they would. People tend to shroud their standards in more flowery, political correct language, but they still mean the same thing. There's just more plausible deniability that they're not extremely shallow or racist. But these people do not care if that's how they come off, and it was so shocking that it became amusing. The satire shined when a male client in his 50s talked about how women in their 30s have too high of standards for his taste, but 21-year-olds just weren't serious enough.
I'm turning 48 in a few months, and I think I need to meet someone more grown.
I have a really special client. Her name's Sophie. She's a highly accomplished lawyer. She's 39.
I wasn't really thinking 30s. I meant more like 27, 28. It gets really intense and complicated with women in their 30s. They have really high expectations, and they tend to rush things because I guess their biological clock's ticking. Someone 27. Do Even 29 is pushing it. Trust me, it's the best thing for everyone. I genuinely get along much better with girls in their 20s.
Yes, because women famously have two ages, 21 and old. I did notice that the men in the client montages were much more matter-of-fact about their absurd requirements. When they would ask Lucy to find them a fit blonde with a master's degree in basket weaving, they acted like they were ordering fries from McDonald's. Whereas the women were much more tame and apologetic when it came to what they hoped to find in a partner. Except for that one lady who wanted a conservative lesbian who lived in Manhattan. I think Dakota Johnson's deadpan acting sensibility really shine in these scenes, and she should be cast in more comedies. Obviously, the clients sound insane, and it's very clear that Celine Song despises these characters and that you should too. It was really effective in showing what dating looks like when it's purely transactional. It's not dating, it's just a job application. Lucy knows it's dehumanizing to think of people as numbers on a sheet, their height, weight, and income. In the first half of the movie, she views this dehumanization, or as she calls it, math, as a process that is inevitable in her line of work. She can't help but view people as walking resumes. This is apparent with how she describes her favorite client, Sophie, who takes on a much more important role in the latter half of the film. Sophie, played by the brilliant actress Zoe Winters, has no place in the dating market because she's just a quote, nice girl. And you thought nice guys had it bad. I love the dialogue in this movie. I thought it was so quippy and smart. It does the thing that movie dialogue is supposed to do. It sounds way more intelligent than actual people, but it doesn't sound like it was overly written. Some of my favorite lines were, what's the saying? You're not ugly, you just don't have money. Another great one, I'm gonna die alone or get a rich husband, same thing. Honorable mention for Dakota Johnson having to say, I'm a failed actress. I think Celine Song has a good sense of humor because in that same scene, there's a line where a character says the play John acted in doesn't make sense. And that same play was a real life play that Celine Song actually wrote. So I think she has a penchant for irony. From the start, it's clear that Lucy believes that a good relationship and financial stability are inextricably linked. And not even financial stability, more specifically an excess of wealth. There's a flashback scene to a relationship ending fight she had with John on their anniversary, and they were fighting about money.
Look, there.
I'm not gonna pay $25 to park this piece of shit for an hour.
John, it's been 20 minutes. I'll just pay for it.
You're not paying.
We
Why would you
agreed
make a
that we would
reservation?
go
It's such
to
a
nice
criminal
restaurants
play.
on our anniversary.
Oh,
I don't want to fight about money with my boyfriend on our anniversary. It makes me feel like my parents.
I don't have any money. I forgot.
What? What did you forget? That you love me?
They've been circling, looking for a parking spot for a while, but he refuses to pay for parking and she wants him to suck it up. Otherwise, they'll be late for their expensive dinner reservation and lose their deposit. They get into a huge middle of the street argument and Lucy admits that she hates John for being broke, but that she hates herself even more for hating that John is poor. She hates that she is materialistic. Now, I don't endorse the term broke boy propaganda. At the end of the day, I am pro-working class, but I can see why some of the girls are calling this that. And it's because in the movie, John's stubbornness and cheapness is sometimes conflated with poverty. There are plenty of poor people who are generous, and there are plenty of rich people who are cheap. John seems to have a financial philosophy where he spends as little as possible, hence his $850 rent with horrible roommates. He seems to be averse to paying for convenience and accumulating debt, whereas Lucy does not abide by the same philosophy. She wants a certain level of comfort and wants to portray herself in a certain way, and she will go into debt and or live above her means to do so. Lucy says she makes $80,000 a year before taxes, yet she lives alone in a very nice Manhattan apartment, has gotten 2 different plastic surgery procedures, and dresses very well. A lot of people have said this is unrealistic, but guess what, guys? She's in debt. She literally says that. She doesn't say how much, but it's something. I know it sounds crazy, but you can put plastic surgery on a credit card. Hell, you can put a Chipotle bowl on Klarna. It is technically easier than ever to live a lifestyle that you can't necessarily afford. And I think Lucy justifies living this lifestyle because 1, she has to present in a certain way for her job, and 2, she views it as an investment because she believes, at this point in the movie at least, she will marry a wealthy man and all of her spending will pay off as a result. Lucy's desire for financial stability stems from seeing her parents fight about money. She is acutely aware of the strain that money, or lack thereof, puts on relationships. I think this is such a relatable reality that we don't often see talked about in rom-coms. One other rom-com I've seen that addresses finances in a candid way like this is a movie called Friends and Money by Nicole Holofenser. It's about a single woman in her 30s who envies the security of her richer coupled friends. It is from 2006 though, so definitely adjust for inflation. But if you enjoy how The Materialist tackles these themes of interpersonal relationships and money, you would probably also enjoy that movie. I think it's extremely relatable to see Lucy tortured by her materialism because in some aspects, yes, it is shallow. She resents being with John because she has to eat at chain restaurants. But it is also true that money is a tool for survival and well-being. If you have access to more money, you have access to healthier food, a more peaceful living environment, and better healthcare, not to mention all those other materialistic things. Ironically, Lucy does not come off as very materialistic to me, even in the first half of the movie when she's drinking the Kool-Aid that comes from Harry's lifestyle. This is a movie about a girl dating a rich man, and there's not even a shopping spree montage. This girl is not a gold digger by any means. In fact, she stumbles upon meeting Harry, a so-called unicorn. Unlike her overzealous clients, she hasn't been trying to find the perfect guy. Lucy seems to really appreciate the experiences that Harry provides. She likes that they can go to fine dining establishments, but in a casual way because he can easily afford it. She likes how at these restaurants he picks up the bill with no fear or hesitation. She likes comfort and security. She likes the fact that Harry never even saw his parents fight about money. He was born rich, raised rich, and remains rich. This is not a man who has been burdened by the psychological turmoil that comes with an overdraft fee. Can you tell I've been burdened by that psychological turmoil? $35 for having no money? Harry's lack of poverty has provided him peace of mind. In fact, he's a Nepo baby. He works for his family's financial firm. You've heard of Barbie as the princess in the Pauper, but have you heard of Barbie as private equity in the Pauper? Lucy finds it unbelievable that Harry is seriously pursuing her because the math doesn't make sense. In the dating market, Harry is as rare and valuable as a billion-dollar startup is to a venture capitalist. He is a unicorn, tall, rich, well-mannered, attractive, and has good taste. Lucy claims that he could do so much better than her, a 30-something debt-ridden college dropout. He could date 25-year-olds. What is he, Leonardo DiCaprio? Lucy presents herself as a confident woman, and I think she derives all her confidence from being good at her job and being very knowledgeable of the dating market.
But if the girl asks for a 6-foot-tall drink of water in his 40s with a salary over 500 grand, a good hairline, you deliver.
But she doesn't seem to believe that she has intrinsic value, because to her, there is no such thing as intangible intrinsic value. There is only appraised value. And on paper, nothing about her appraisal stands out. She's just like Sophie, merely a nice girl, except with worse education and less money. When Harry asks Lucy, "Why do you like me?" she responds, "Because you make me feel valuable." Although this could be interpreted as romantic, a sign that Harry might have finally cracked Lucy's icy shell, we, the audience, know what she really means because it's a callback to the same line that Lucy uses when consoling a client who is about to crash out on her wedding day. In the beginning of the movie, Lucy's client and bride-to-be, Charlotte, admits to Lucy that deep down she wants to marry her husband because he makes her sister jealous, not because she loves him. Her husband is taller, richer, and better looking than her sisters. It's an ugly truth, but Lucy doesn't even flinch. She neatly repackages this harsh reality into an easy pill to swallow. She says, "He makes you feel valuable." As far as we know, Peter, Charlotte's fiance, isn't really doing anything to make her feel any type of way. He's just tall, rich, and happens to be the guy she's kissing on her wedding day. The proximity alone is enough for her to feel valuable. Her husband is a status symbol. Replace him with any other 6'5" man in finance with a trust fund and blue eyes, she'd be just as was happy, but she still wouldn't be in love. Eventually, Lucy admits to Harry, but mostly to herself, that mere value isn't enough to sustain a marriage. Love must also be on the table. She comes to this conclusion after her client Sophie becomes a casualty of the ruthless, dehumanizing dating market that sustains Lucy's livelihood. At the halfway point of the movie, the tone solemnly shifts from glittering to grim. Sophie has been sexually assaulted on a first date that Lucy set up for her.
Have you spoken with Sophie L?
Not yet, just Mark P.
I just hung up with Sophie's lawyer. Apparently, she was assaulted on the date.
Lucy is horrified that she essentially sent this woman into a trap. Lucy, who up until this point seems to have the emotional depth of a kiddie pool, is deeply disturbed by the incident, and it brings her to tears. She feels incredibly guilty. You'd think she'd echo the sentiment of her boss that there are risks when it comes to dating that matchmakers can't control, but she wholeheartedly rejects this, and Sophie's date makes her question her entire matchmaking career and the danger of treating people as commodities and dating as a market. When Sophie asks her why she would set her up with such a monster, Lucy can only respond, "He checked most of our boxes." This confrontation scene between Sophie and Lucy is so powerful, and I think this scene really drives home the point Celine Song is making with this movie. Modern, status-driven dating is dehumanizing. People are a lot more than their numbers, for better and for worse. I think this movie insightfully portrays and critiques the problems that occurred when dating is commodified. Everyone is a bargain hunter out for the best deal, and this problem is not necessarily new, but technology and money has greatly exacerbated it. In 1956, sociologist Erich Fromm observed that society's obsession with consumerism and mutually favorable exchange impacts how we find love. He writes, "Two persons thus fall in love when they feel they have found the best object available on the market, considering the limitations." He failed to consider that if you're brave enough as Harry to get leg-lengthening surgery, then there are no limitations. Although Lucy ends up engaged to John, the 37-year-old cater waiter with $2,000 in his bank account, I don't think it's fair to reduce the movie to broke boy propaganda.
I'm very concerned about the way that we talk about people who are poor. And I think the thing that's very important to me is to stress that poverty is not the fault of the poor. And I think that given that, it is very brutal. I find it very cruel to talk about John as a character who loves Lucy and who is a beautiful character being played beautifully by Chris, and to talk about him as in such cruel terms as broke boy.
People claim that she lowered her standards, but to me, she just changed them. In the beginning of the movie, her standards for wealth were high, but her standards for genuine connection were non-existent. By the end of the movie, she decides that her value of genuine connection outweighs her value of creature comforts, like expensive omakase. Celine wanted to make the point that love outweighs materialism, and that is clear in her writing. However, I was not convinced by the performances of Dakota Johnson and Chris Evans. I really didn't buy their chemistry, I think partially because we never see the relationship when it was actually good. The only flashback we get is their blowout fight in the middle of the street. Also, Chris Evans' character John is irritated the whole time he's on screen. A big part of his irritation is because of his financial situation. He lives in a dirty apartment with terrible roommates because that's all he can afford. But he is not entirely a victim of circumstance. He has made the choice to remain a starving artist because of his passion for theater acting and belief that it will someday materialize into a well-paying career. Sure, he comes from a poor, shitty family, but he's still a straight white man for whom avenues of upward mobility are wide open. He has just chosen this specific path, and I don't think he should necessarily be shamed for it. It can take 10 years to become an overnight success, especially in fields like entertainment and the arts, and especially when you don't come from money. For example, after nearly 2 decades of taking small roles on stage and television, Pedro Pascal had his breakout role in the 4th season of Game of Thrones at the tender age of 39. But my point is, I just didn't buy the love story between John and Lucy. I don't think we see convincing romance or eroticism or love between the two of them. And that's another thing I want to touch on. Although this movie challenges the status quo when it comes to modern dating, its ideas about love are very rudimentary. It's a really unique movie about money and dating, but it's quite conventional in its approach to love. It doesn't question anything that we are told about love from the time we start reading fairy tales. That love is passive, and once you stand there long enough, a Prince Charming will come along and sweep you off your feet. Lucy says, dating takes effort, love is easy. This is conventional Western wisdom. Love is something you fall into, not something you work for. Again, Erich Fromm writes, most people see the problem of love primarily as that of being loved, rather than that of loving, of one's capacity to love. Hence, the problem for them is not how to be loved, but how to be lovable. The answer of how to be lovable is to optimize oneself to be as valuable as possible in the modern dating market. If you're a man, you gotta make a bunch of money. If you're a woman, you gotta look really pretty. And that is what The Materialist really sets out to explore, but it never questions whether love could be something that you can control, a choice. We get a glimpse of this in the kitchen with Lucy and Harry after she finds out about his leg lengthening surgery and the engagement ring in his suitcase, and conveniently breaks up with him right after that. Harry is incredibly disappointed. He considers Lucy to be exactly what he's looking for, but she tells him that neither of them are in love, and he wonders, what if I'm not capable of it? For him, love is anything but easy. And it's hard because he's faced virtually no challenges in his life. It's the one thing his money can't buy. The Materialist definitely has anti-capitalist themes. It asserts that people are not products and human value is intrinsic, not determined by market conditions. But unlike most eat the rich movies these days, it portrays the rich guy in a pretty favorable light. Harry is a capitalist, but he's also a soft boy. He's not like the other evil rich men who are tacky and abrasive. He doesn't cover his living quarters in gold leaf or go to space just because he can. He's as soft-spoken as his cashmere sweaters, the epitome of quiet luxury. He's not like the other rich people, he gets it. But his subversiveness only goes so far. After all, Lucy is a poor girl who looks rich. She's not a poor girl who looks poor. Overall, I enjoyed The Materialists. I really appreciate that it's not a class-blind rom-com, and I hope that more movies in the genre follow suit. Economic realities and personal finance play a huge role in heterosexual romantic relationships, but it's more convenient to leave that part unsaid because it's messy. In a review for The Guardian, Elle Hunt contends that The Materialist conveys a brutal but accurate depiction of modern dating. She writes, "It is naive to believe that we can separate romance and even relationships from financial reality. Against such a brutal backdrop, financial stability is arguably a sound reason to prioritize the search for love. If that strikes us as unsavory or regressive, we should push for affordable housing and more financial and society safety nets so that we can enter into relationships freely and set love apart as best we can from finances." And I agree, the takeaway from The Materialist shouldn't be reduced to broke boy propaganda. If anything, I took away that maybe life shouldn't have to be so damn expensive that we're forced to commodify romance and relationships. Anyway, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. I would love to hear your thoughts on The Materialists and the broke boy allegations below. Honestly, like, I really enjoyed this movie, and I feel like a lot of people had kind of negative reactions to first seeing it, so I'm just curious how y'all feel. I also know it's been a few months, so maybe only the real ones will be watching this video. Maybe only the people who actually liked it will be watching this. We'll see. But yeah, I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!